A pleasant morning to our distinguished participants. Ladies and gentlemen, it is our pleasure to welcome you here this morning to BESTY Webinar 2021. Be an English professional in tourism industry. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, Salam Kebajikan. The Honorable, the Head of Business Administration Department of State Polytechnic of Malang, Mr. Dr. Andes Yoni Dwi Pribadi MAB, the Honorable, the Head of the Diploma Free English Study Program of State Polytechnic of Malang, Mr. Dr. Sugeng Haryanto SPD MPD, the Honorable, the lecturer of English for my Ms. Noverita Wahyuningsih, host of today's webinar, Ms. Aurelia VanderWilde, and Mr. Abdul Malik Siswantoro, the Honorable, the person in charge of BESTY Webinar 2021, Mr. Davara Ardatia Darlianto, and of course, all the lecturers of English Study Program and all the participants of BESTY Webinar 2021. First of all, let us praise to the Almighty God who has given guidance and blessing to us. Therefore, we can gather here in today's webinar without hindrance, troubles, and obstacles. I am Dia Ayusa Fitri Human, as the master of ceremony for today's event, would like to thank everyone here for taking time to attend our webinar. Ladies and gentlemen, we divided the event into several agendas, and this morning, please allow me to read today's agenda. So the first agenda is opening. The second is singing the Indonesian national anthem. The third is welcoming speeches. The fourth is the presentation by the first speaker, Ms. Aurelia VanderWilde. The fifth is the presentation by the second speaker, Mr. Abdul Malik Siswantoro. The sixth is quiz winner announcement. And the last one is closing. So before starting today's agenda, let us pray to each religion and belief. Pray, begin. Pray, finish. Then for the next agenda, we will play our national anthem, Indonesia Raya. So for all participants, please sit respectfully and pay attention to it. For the operator, the time is yours. All right, thank you very much. And after which, our welcoming speeches. So for the first speech will be delivered by the person in charge of BESTY webinar, Mr. Davara Ardatia Darlianto. So Mr. Davara, the time is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The Honorable Mr. Yodi Dwi Pribadi MAB, Head of Department of Business Administration, State Polytechnic of Malang. The Honorable Mr. Dr. Sugeng Haryanto, SPD MPD, Head of the English Literature Study Program. The Honorable Ms. Noverita Wahyuningsih, SPD MPD, Lecturer in English for my course. The Honorable Mr. Abdul Malik Siswantoro SS and Ms. Aurelia VanderWilde, our keynote speakers today. The Honorable all lecturers of the English Study Program, and all the participants who attend today's webinar. I would like to say welcome to webinar BESTY 2021. Alhamdulillah, today we can gather to take part in this webinar, be an English professional in tourism industry. This webinar was organized by students of the 3B English Diplomatry Study Program, Polytechnic of Malang. And this national webinar was attended by around 350 people registered, ranging from students of State Polytechnic of Malang itself, and also universities and the general public around. Even this time, several participants also come from Batam, Jakarta, Bekasi, Balikpapan, and many more. This time, we will receive some knowledge about the tourism industry from our two keynote speakers, Mr. Abdul Malik Siswantoro and also Ms. Aurelia VanderWilde. Hopefully, what we get today can be useful for all of us. Thank you very much. That's all from me. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Davara Ardatia, for the speech. And then the second welcoming speech is from the lecturer of English for MICE, Ms. Noverita Wahyuningsih, SPD MPD. So Ms. Noverita, the floor is yours.
Still muted, Bu Noverita.
Okay, thank you. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum and good morning. I would like to extend a warm welcome to our two speakers today and to all of the distinguished participants of this BESTY webinar. Good morning also to the heads of the English department of the State Polytechnic of Malang, and also to Pak Yoni, the head of Business Administration Department. And also good morning to my colleagues, English teachers. This webinar is a part of end of semester project for our students at the English department of the State Polytechnic of Malang, especially for the subject, namely English for MICE, meetings, incentive, conference, and exhibition. This subject is presented by using the CLIL approach, content and language integrated learning. So in this subject, the students learn not only how English is used in MICE events, but also about how to plan and organize an event by themselves. And this class of 3B, which names themselves FunB projects, they have worked hard and done their best for months to prepare this webinar that we are attending today, and building communication with the speakers and being entrepreneurial to find sponsorships as well. My students and I would like to thank all of you here in the Zoom room who have also made this happen. Now, allow me to wish you all to enjoy this webinar and hope you will find it useful and advantageous. Thank you very much, and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Ms. Noverita, for the warm speech. And the next is a welcoming speech from the head of Diploma-Free English Study Program of State Polytechnic of Malang, Mr. Dr. Sugeng Haryanto, SPD MPD. So, Mr. Sugeng, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, I would like to welcome all distinguished guests, especially our speakers this morning, Ms. Aurelia VanderWilde, Mr. Abdul Malik Siswantoro, and also the head of the School of Business Administration, Mr. Joni Dwi Pribadi, my fellow lecturers at English departments, and also all of our students here. This one is, this seminar today is very important in two ways. The first is this is the implementation of what the students have got from Bu Noverita's class. And then the second, with this very seasoned speakers in the field, and your topic, students, this is very important not only for you, but also for Indonesia. As we know, we have been in the pandemic for 2 years, and one of the industry in Indonesia and also around the world that is badly affected by this pandemic is travel and tourism. So we can see the picture in Indonesia itself. We have 13 million direct workers in this industry. It means the workers that really working in the industry of travel and tourism, including hospitality. And another 32.5 million workers in a supporting industry. And it means if we total it, we have 47 million workers related to this field. And your event is strategic because after the gloomy time for 2 years, we will see the brighter future for the next year, as we see the number of the COVID cases are flattening in a low number around the world, and hope Omicron doesn't make another problem. Okay, so again, this is important. This is important because we are seeing our future, and we want to make in the travel and tourism industry one of the big contributors to Indonesian GDP again. And this is also very much in line with our program. Next year, inshallah, there will be no D3 English, applied English, but we will have bachelor degree for applied English for tourism industry. So exactly this is the topic today. And at the same time, next year, we will have another one. We have a tourism study program. This is travel and tourism management study program. So within the School of Business Administration, under the guidance of our great Pak Joni, there will be 2 names coming up. First is bachelor degree of English for tourism industry, and Travel and Tourism Management program, also bachelor degree. So that's what I say. Thank you very much, committee, for organizing this event. And once again, Ms. Aurelia VanderWilde and Mr. Abdul Malik Siswantoro, we do appreciate your valuable time you set aside for us this morning. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sugeng, for a very warm welcoming speech. Then the last speech will be delivered by the head of the Business Department of State Polytechnic of Malang, Mr. Dr. Andes Yoni Dwi Pribadi, MAB. So Mr. Yoni will deliver a welcoming speech followed by the opening of the BESTY webinar 2021. So Mr. Yoni, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you very much for my time. Master of Ceremony. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The Honorable Miss Aurelia VanderWilde, Speaker 1. The Honorable Mr. Abdul Malik Siswantoro, as Speaker 2. The Honorable Mr. Sugeng Arianto, as Head of the English Study Program. The Honorable Mrs. Noverita as my lecturer, and all my beloved students of English study programs. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning. Peace be upon you all. First of all, let us pray and praise to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Because of His bless and mercy, we can come together here without any obstacles, with health condition in this national seminar. Secondly, let us greet and pray to our beloved Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, who have brought us to the path of light and left the darkness in this life. May we all will get syafaat from him in the end of the day. Amin. Ladies and gentlemen, the topic today that will be discussed together in the seminar is very, very interesting. It is about how to be an English professional in tourism industry. Let alone, this seminar is also supported by our two well-known speakers. Ladies and gentlemen, as we know, and as also told by Mr. Sugeng before, the COVID-19 virus pandemic has hit the tourism world, including in Indonesia. But now, tourism growth is starting to rise again after our government successfully managed to overcome the spread of the virus. Even though this growth is not as fast as it was before the pandemic. Well, to help accelerate the growth of tourism industry, of course, we need for professionals who had very good skills, especially in the field of English language and also digital technology. This is very important to attract more tourism from overseas. Well, I will not take too much of your time or the participants here. To shorten the time, I will officially open this national seminar by saying Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today, Saturday, 18 December 2021, I hereby officially open the national seminar on how to be an English professional in tourism industry. Thank you to all who already made this seminar run as planned and as expected before. Especially, thank you very much for our two speakers, because in their holiday time, they can spare their time to share with us in this seminar. Hopefully, the seminar will increase and enrich our insights and improve our students' soft skills, especially in the tourism industry. That's all for me. Thank you very much. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yoni, for giving the welcoming speech and opening this event. Ladies and gentlemen, now we are already in the special session. That is the presentation session from our marvelous speakers. For your information, there are some door prizes for selected participants who are actively asking questions. So the first presentation session is going to be led by our first moderator, Fitriana Nur Salsabila. She is a student of Diploma Free English Study Program of State Polytechnic of Malang. So Fitriana Nur Salsabila, you may take the floor.
All right, thank you for the opportunity, Dia. All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for attending our webinar, BESTY webinar. It is very pleasant to see you here, and I would like to extend a very warm welcome to all of the participants here. First, let me introduce myself. I am Fitriana Nur Salsabila, who will be responsible for moderating the first session of today's webinar. This presentation session will be delivered by Aurelia VanderWilde under the topic, the experiences and differences between Indonesian culture and foreign culture in tourism. But before that, now please allow me to read Aurelia's short resume. So, Aurelia VanderWilde is a double majoring in international relations and academic first-year student in Agnes Scott College, Decatur, Georgia, the United States. During her study, she also active in voluntary activities. She is a native English teacher in Ruang Belajar Akwil Malang since 2019 until now. And she is also an alumni representative from National Security Language Initiative for Youth in Spokane, Washington State since January 2021 until now. Furthermore, she also active receiving awards such as in 2018, she was selected as a National Security Language Initiative for Youth finalist, and she spent 6 weeks in Jakarta learning Bahasa Indonesia and its culture. She also received full scholarship from Kennedy Lugar Youth Exchange and study abroad program in Indonesia for about 1 year from 2019 until 2020. An intern award at Launch Currel Campaign Remote in 2020. In August 2020 also, she received Code First Award for Code Guide Remote and a cohort mentor for Education USA in August 2021. Well, that is about Aurel's resume, and such a great experience at her age, right? So without any further ado, please welcome Aurelia VanderWilde.
Hi, everyone. Good morning to everyone in Indonesia. I hope y'all are doing well. I am doing great here in Spokane. We're happy to be back for break. So just a moment and I'm going to find the window with my presentation, and then without any further ado, I will get started. Before I get started, I just want to say thank you so much to everyone for attending this webinar today. And thank you so much to the Yes Abroad Scholarship that made the connections between me and y'all possible. And then also thank you so much to Bina Antarbudaya Malang for my host family and for the wonderful experience that I had while abroad in Indonesia. Just note, if you are interested in volunteering with Bina Antarbudaya, they are looking for volunteers to help with sending, hosting, coordinating, all of that sorts. And I am so thankful to all of the volunteers that made my experience possible. So just want to say thank you so much to both of those groups. Also, thank you so much to my host family. They could not have had the experience without them.
Excuse me, Aurel.
Yes.
Before we start our presentation, I want to give some information to our participants first.
Perfect.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like you to know that Aurel now is speaking directly from the US, and there are time differences between us. Is that right? That it is evening right there, Aurel?
Yeah, it's 5:42 p.m.
All right. Before that, thank you very much for your willingness, Aurel, to be a speaker in this webinar. And before we move to the presentation session, there is information about how this session will be going on. The presentation session will last for 1 hour, 45 minutes prior for presentation, and the rest 15 minutes for Q&A session, followed by the conclusion by moderator. For participants who want to ask questions to our speaker, you can type your questions on the chat box or use the raise hand feature, then turn on your microphone after I call your name later. Make sure you don't miss anything from her, because this is a great opportunity for you to have interaction with an awesome speaker like Aurel. And I also would like to inform that there will be door prizes for those who participate actively in Q&A session, and the winners will be announced by our MC at the end of the webinar. Okay, I think it is all clear, Aurel. So now let us move to the presentation session. Aurel, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So yeah, just to get started today, I'll be talking a little bit about American culture, where I live, and then about cultural barriers, cultural gaps, and how to bridge that cultural shock that you may encounter if you interact with any Americans who are currently abroad. So yeah, first off, a little bit about me. I'm from Spokane, Washington, where I'm currently at, but I go to school at Agnes Scott College, which is in Decatur, Georgia. And how I got involved with Indonesia and learning Indonesian, I studied abroad in Jakarta for 6 weeks when in 2018, lived in Bekasi, and then I learned Indonesian for 4 hours a day for about 6 weeks, pretty intensively. And then following that, I studied abroad on the Yes Abroad Scholarship, which is related to the Yes Program Scholarship. And it was just founded after 9/11 to promote more peace and harmony between the US and Muslim majority countries such as Indonesia. It provides full scholarships to students who are interested in studying abroad. So here, as you can see, we have a couple pictures. This is a picture of me with my host family in Malang, my host mom, my host dad. My host dad actually teaches at Polytechnic Malang, and my host mom works at Ube. This is a picture of me with my host family in Jakarta. When we went to the house that my grandpa, since he was born in Bandung, he was born in this house. He was Plastron. And then here's a picture of me with my host family again. And then just a picture of me with the lilacs, which is our city's flower in Spokane. So yeah, I'm currently a first year in college, double majoring, and then minoring in Arabic. And then, so just a little bit about the United States. The US has 50 states, 48 continental, which just means they're all on this same continent. And then there's Alaska, which is really far north. It's the farthest north in the US that you'll get. And then we have Hawaii, which is the farthest southeast. It's actually more between, it's an island that's located between here and Indonesia that was, it was the last state to become a state. So yeah, that's the US geography. The current president is Joe Biden and our vice president is Kamala Harris. A little bit of background with this. In the US, we use the electoral college system, which means that rather than the popular vote determining who is president, each state is given a certain number of votes, and then whoever wins the majority of that state gets all of the state's electoral vote. I won't go too far into detail with it because I don't want to bore y'all, but it's a little bit of a different system, and I think it's important to understand when you talk about the US, because a lot of people are like, how did Trump become president? Well, it's because the electoral college makes it so that it's not always the person that wins the popular vote that wins the election. Sometimes you just have to win the electoral college. For languages, English is the language that is used legally and formally, but a lot of other languages are used. So if you take a look here at this map, Spanish is the second most common in, I believe it's like 45, 44 states. I speak Spanish. It's really useful. There is a large Latino community in the US that speaks Spanish. And then other languages spoken include German, that's more in the Midwest, French in the Northeast due to its proximity to Canada. French is spoken in Louisiana because that's a former French colony. And then Tagalog in Hawaii and Yupik in Alaska. And Yupik is a native language that was spoken by the indigenous people there. So next, the state symbol, not the state symbol, the national symbol of the United States is the bald eagle. You can, if you go into a lot of US government buildings, you'll probably see it. It's this big bird with a white head. And then just a note on the US that I'll talk a lot about more later. The US is really diverse. People from the US come from all parts of the world. From El Salvador, like my dad's side of the family is, to Indonesia and Germany, where my mother's side of the family is from. The US is very diverse. There's no one way that an American looks or that American talks, and there's no one American experience. So just when I share about my experience, remember this is from one perspective. I have not been to all 50 states yet, though I hope to, and yeah, keep that in mind. So first off, I'm going to talk about Decatur in the Atlanta area. So Decatur is Atlanta is located in Georgia, which is located in the southeast US. So here's a map of Georgia. And then right here is Atlanta. Other major cities include Columbus, which is farther down here, Augusta and Savannah. Both of these are on the coast. There's also some islands off of the coast of Georgia, which are inhabited by mostly indigenous people. Yeah, so this is Georgia. The capital of Georgia is Atlanta. It's the biggest city in Georgia. It has approximately 3 million people. And Georgia is really well known for a few things. So the first one is the Civil Rights Movement, which was the movement by Black Americans to get the right to vote and to get other rights, because prior to the Civil Rights Movement, there was a lot of segregation in the US, especially in the South, which meant that Black people couldn't go to the same schools as white people. Black people couldn't drink from the same water fountains or even have the right to sit on the same parts of the bus. So the civil rights movement was very strong in Georgia. Martin Luther King Jr. was born in Georgia. He was actually born in Atlanta, not too far from where I go to school. And yeah, Georgia's also known for peaches. I'm sure that most of y'all have heard the song, The Peaches Down in Georgia by Justin Bieber. That's referring to Georgia, the state. President Carter is a president that's from Georgia. He grew up in the countryside of Georgia as a peanut farmer, because peanuts are just like in Indonesia where boiled peanuts are common. They're also pretty common in Georgia. They're a popular gas station food. Yeah, and Georgia is really, I would say in some ways it's a really traditional Southern state. So there's a few differences between the South and the North, and one of them is just in speaking. So if you all ever meet someone from the South, Southern English is spoken with a little bit of a Southern twang, so to say, which just means it's a little bit slower. It's known as the dialect of English that's closest to British English. It's like a slowed down to an extent, and there's a few words that are just more common. For example, y'all, as y'all probably have heard me saying, is really common in Georgia. I've picked it up just since going to school there, because if you ever walk into a room, it's how are y'all instead of how are you guys or how are you all. Ain't is another really common word in Georgia, and just dialectal differences. It's a little bit slower than the English that I grew up with, and it's a little bit, yeah, it's different. But so just a heads up, that's an accent difference across the US. The weather in Georgia, so it's pretty warm all year round. I think the coldest it gets is like 25, 20, maybe down to 50. It gets colder for sure. So like this past week, it got down to 2 or 3 degrees Celsius, but for the most part, the temperature is very similar to Indonesia in the sense that it's hot and it's humid. I would say it's pretty similar to Malang weather with the exception of a few cold days. It doesn't really snow in the south. So yeah, this is a little bit about Atlanta. Right here you can see Decatur Square. Decatur is a suburb located right here, but it's within the perimeter, which is just the area that people consider Atlanta. So moving on from that, oh yes, and then before I move on from that, the primary source of transportation in Atlanta is probably MARTA, which is the Metro Atlanta Regional Transit Association. Pardon me. That's just a train and bus and subway system that a lot of people use. I use it. I've really liked it. There's also a few light rails, and cars and bikes are also pretty similar. So next, Spokane, Washington. So I was born and raised in Spokane. If you look at this map, Spokane is located right here. It's located over in eastern Washington. It's considered in the inland Northwest because unlike Seattle, we unfortunately do not have access to the ocean, which I don't mind it too much personally, but it definitely makes it so that it's colder. The capital of Washington State is Olympia, which is right up here. Major cities in Washington include Spokane, Seattle, and Wenatchee, which is located somewhere in the middle here. Other big states include Kennewick and Walla Walla, which is most well known for its onions. Yeah, Washington State is different than Washington, D.C. I just want to emphasize that. We have Washington, D.C., which is the capital of the United States, and then we have Washington State, which is on the other side of the country. And they're pretty different culturally as well as historically. Washington, D.C. is a lot older than Washington State, and it's a lot more mild in terms of temperature. Washington State is known for its nature. The nature here, people have a saying that's near nature, near perfect. I'd have to say I agree with them most of the year. It is really pretty here. Hiking is a really common pastime. Salmon is a big food. It's commonly eaten here. As you can see right here, this is the Spokane River, which is a river that goes through downtown Spokane. And back in the old days before the colonizers moved, the Native Americans got a lot of their food from the river here. They still do to an extent, but because of damming, it's been made a little bit less possible. But yeah, salmon are still a major source, a big common food here. It's a lot more accessible than on the East Coast. And the Native American culture, well, a lot of the Native Americans culture has died down due to historical events. There is, in Washington State especially, there has been a movement to revitalize it with, for example, some schools teach about Native languages, such as Salish, which is the native language of Spokane, and it's also the word that Spokane comes from. So Spokane actually means children of the sun in Salish. Yeah, the population of Spokane in the city is 539,000. And in Spokane, we certainly have all 4 seasons. So in the summer, it's really hot. It gets up to 33, even 40 degrees Celsius. It is a little bit smoky due to wildfires that we've been experiencing lately. In the fall, it's pretty cool, rainy, windy, a lot of windstorms, especially with climate change has just made that situation a little bit more extreme. The winter is very cold. We are currently in the middle of a Spokane winter, and today I went outside and it was -9 degrees Celsius. So to put that in perspective, when you go outside, if you have any type of water on your eyes or anything, it freezes to your eyelashes. And we have a fireplace inside of our house to stay warm. It is pretty cold in general too. When I went outside to get firewood today, I wore 4 coats and 2 gloves. So it is very cold here, which is nice because then you can go sledding and skiing, which are common pastimes. But yeah, in the spring, it's gorgeous. Right here is a picture of Spokane during the spring. It's really nice, pretty mild. You don't have a lot of natural disasters or that sort of thing during the spring. It does rain, and on the west coast of Washington especially, it rains most of the year. So, but Eastern Washington, of course, slightly different climate due to the fact that we have these mountains that cut across the state. So yeah, next I'm going to talk a little bit about American culture. So the first thing that I'd like to talk about is American culture is very individualistic, which means that unlike in Indonesia, where the group is seen as possibly slightly more important than the individual, in the US, the individual is always prioritized. And it's not so much in a way that you want to be selfish, but it's more that in America, we believe that the individual and the individual's goals are more important than the group as a whole. A lot of importance is placed on individual success over in doing what it takes to get your own individual success. This is also just in regards to how people act in public. A lot of times, including myself, I like to do things by myself. And this is seen as something that's slightly more normal and slightly more okay in the US. People will take themselves on personal days. People will do things by themselves, not because they don't like people or because they're an introvert, but just because having me time and having alone time, even if it's in public, is seen as something that is good for you. And yeah, that's just an example of the individualistic. A lot of times it's about me and not the group. We do work in groups here still, especially in school. There's a lot of group projects, but there is a bigger focus placed on the value of the individual over the value of the group in general. On that note, another big thing in American culture is very direct. I'm not sure how much y'all have noticed in terms of how I talk, but in general, Americans do like to speak directly. So if rather than saying, in America, it's considered really common and almost more polite to tell someone no directly rather than telling them no, I can't, or no, I have an appointment, or that sort of thing. And same thing in regards to yes. If in the US, if you're going to tell someone yes about something, it's generally seen as like you should tell them yes at this point, and you should tell them yes or no in regards to that. So yeah, let's see. In a few other ways, just in general, this is seen as you want to, it's seen as if you're speaking to like even someone that's more of your boss, it's still seen as important to talk to them directly, and it's important to advocate for yourself just in regards to that. So rather than having someone else talk with the boss or whatnot, it's seen as important to speak to them directly. So yes, and then next on that note, diversity is something that's really big in the US, with the US being a so-called melting pot with people from all over the United States. One thing that we really value is having a diversity, both in terms of opinion and in terms of representation. So right here, we have a few people who are politicians in the US, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, and then over here we have Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Cory Brooks, and a few others. So as you can see, all of these people here come from different racial, ethnic, and socioeconomic backgrounds. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is a Latina. Her family is from Puerto Rico, which is a current colony more or less of the US, where they speak Spanish. Rashida Tlaib is Palestinian. Ilhan Omar is Somali American and Muslim. So we do see diversity as something that's important, and it's something that's important to celebrate. A lot of people are proud of the fact that in the US, people come from all over, and diversity is just, in general, it's important. I know that at school we talk a lot about diversity and celebrating the diversity and how people express themselves and in where people come from. So that's just a note on diversity. And then another note is that in the US, people are considered more private. So in the US, it's considered more important to focus on, let's see, it's considered important to have more of a professional persona, I guess I would say, in regards to when you're talking about yourself at work, and to keep some things that are more specific to yourself or things that are more personal and private. For example, in the US, it's people do not ask someone's religion, and that's considered a violation of their privacy. People in general do not ask where someone's from. We celebrate the diversity, but we don't try and point out the diversity. And of course, I'm happy to answer any questions about this. So people tend to be more private. It's good to be proud of certain things, but you want to let people share what they feel comfortable in sharing. Another thing that's really important in the US is working. A lot of people get jobs when they are younger. The working age here is 16, and a lot of people do start working when they're 16. Different states have slightly different working ages. So for example, in Georgia, the legal age to start working is 14, whereas in Washington, it's 16 unless there can be exceptions, but it's seen as pretty important and a sign of responsibility for people to work starting at that age. It's not uncommon at all for students to work part-time while going to high school, and definitely not while going to college. I personally work while in school. I teach coding. It's been a great experience, but it's definitely more common, and it's encouraged for students to work, and not only just in terms of having an internship in a preferred field, but to also get some experience working in service jobs, such as working at McDonald's, working at Starbucks, working as a barista. All those sorts of things are seen as jobs that students should do. Yeah, so that's just a note on work. And then the next thing is state rights. So in the US, it's seen as pretty One of the unique things about the US actually is that every single state has its own separate set of laws, which can make it really confusing when you move from, let's say, Washington to Georgia. But each state has the right to create its own laws in regards to pretty much anything. We do have federal laws, and federal laws apply to everyone unless the state makes a law that says that that law doesn't apply there. So for example, in the US, one federal law is that everyone must wear a seatbelt. However, in some states, such as Georgia, you only need to wear a seatbelt if you're sitting in the front seat or if you're under the age of 18. So that's just one example. Another one that you can see up here is the different state laws regarding if you need to wear a helmet while riding a bicycle. So as you can see, all of the states in green, riders must wear a helmet. In the blue, if you're under 17 or 18, you need to wear a helmet, and in the gray ones, you don't need to wear a helmet no matter what. So as you can see, there's a pretty big spectrum as to the different jobs, not the different jobs, the different laws state to state. So I think that's important to understand, because if y'all ever travel to the US, it's important to realize that some states have some laws, other states have other laws, and it's important to follow the state laws because let's say you're driving, and even if you're following the federal law, such as like free right on red, if that is against the state law, then you'll still get a ticket. So state rights, I think this really ties into the whole individualism of the US, where even on our government's level, you can see that the state rights and viewing the state as that individual, the state rights oversee or supersede the federal rights. So the next thing that I'm going to talk about is a little bit about my experience in Indonesia and some of the culture shocks that I experienced. So the first one was noise. In the US, I would say people can be loud, especially at sporting events, which are really big in high schools. But in general, I noticed that one of the ways that Indonesians express their joy, I guess, is by being a little bit louder and a little bit more talkative. This was definitely an adjustment. And I remember speaking with some of the other exchange students like, wow, this is really different. This is slightly louder. Like in classes, it would be slightly louder. And I think I believe that that's because of just the difference between the individual and the group mentality. And when you're by yourself, I mean, you can't make too much noise, but when you're in a group having fun, when you're group and it's drum song, then there might be a little bit more chances for loudness. Another culture shock, I was definitely prepared by AFS and my experiences going to Indonesia prior that Indonesia is indirect, but I don't think that I realized how indirect and how this affects every single aspect of different people's lives. So indirect communication and understanding both what my teachers were saying, what my host family was saying, all of this was definitely an adjustment that I overcame for sure, but it was a culture shock. And I think that any Indonesian that went to the US would probably experience it the other way, where Americans are just so direct that sometimes it can seem rude, even for an American, even for me. But the indirect culture was definitely an adjustment. And I remember sometimes I'd be like, I wish someone would just tell me like what I need to do or something, because indirect culture is very different. And then the next one is group. I think that as an American, we're always focused on like, you need to be independent. You need to be the individual, you need to do things yourself. It was an adjustment for sure to understand that, people might not be, people are offering to go with you to this place or that place because the group is what's important and it's seen as important to go in groups. So that was an adjustment for sure. And then food in the US, in my family, especially because my grandpa was born in Indonesia, we do have rice, but in Indonesia, having rice 3 times a day was a culture adjustment as well. I think that any Indonesian would experience the same thing the other way, just being like, oh, because like here in the US, we really have rice. My family probably once, maybe twice a week. At school, there's rice at breakfast, not breakfast and lunch, but there's always rice at lunch and dinner. If you would like it, that's just in the canteen. And I probably have rice once, maybe twice a week at school. So food, the rice was an adjustment. And then also in terms of spice level, I really like spice, but it was definitely an adjustment for sambal and that sort of thing, because in the US we do have spicy foods. A lot of the different ethnic groups, such as salsa, which is Mexican and Central American food, is similar to sambal, but it's more tomato based. But yeah, spice was an adjustment, as well as just the different flavors. I loved Indonesian food. My favorites were probably talo telur and bubur manado, but food was an adjustment, just having rice at 3 meals a day. The next one is jam karet, and just this was probably one of the biggest culture shocks, is that, and while I knew that this was a thing for sure, jam having the more flexibility in time, I guess, was definitely an adjustment. I remember someone told me that had been an exchange student before. In America, we have clocks, and in Indonesia, they have time. And I think that is true for sure, because in the US, it's really important to be prompt. I remember growing up, I was told that on time, like 5 minutes early is on time and on time is late to any event. Or even just, let's say you're going to meet someone for coffee, if they aren't there 5 minutes early, you start to wonder, like, will they show up? Will they not? Whereas in Indonesia, the fluidity of time, so to speak, and that was a culture shock for sure. So yeah, these are the main culture shocks that I experienced. Culture shock and experiencing culture shocks, I wouldn't say is necessarily a bad thing. I think that it's something that comes with going to another country and experiencing another culture. And I think that these were all really important learning experiences that have helped me to this day in my life, because I mean, when I went to college, there was the culture shock that came along with that as well, even just between the North and the South. So in the South, I found that jam karet is a little bit more common there too as well. Anyway, but if y'all ever, let's say, encounter an American going through culture shock, or if you are giving a tour to someone who is experiencing culture shock, there are a few things that you can do to help them. So, pardon me. I would say the first important thing to keep in mind is that when someone is going through culture shock, they might feel a little bit confused, and they might ask a lot of questions. And I think it's really important to answer these questions. And if you're, let's say, giving a tour to someone who isn't asking a lot of questions, but they might look uncomfortable, I think it's good to ask them if they have any questions. And then if they say no, because perhaps they're an American and they're too proud to ask questions, or they're embarrassed by having questions, I think it's good to possibly explain one of these things and be like, it's hotter here, or, in Indonesia, we're a little bit more indirect. So I think that's one thing that you can do. Another thing I would say would be if you adjust your communication style, even if the person is nodding along. I think that all people, regardless of culture, sometimes go into the Yeah. And maybe some of y'all may be catching yourself doing this now, but it's just when you get into a new situation or when you have all of this new information coming at you, it's easy to be like, yes, I know what's going on. And like, just like, I know in class, I've done this for sure, where it's like, yes, yes. And then you finish the class or you finish the presentation. It's like, what did I just hear or listen to? So I think it's important. So even if someone's in that situation, it's good to possibly start to explain this and explain different things. And then finally, just adjusting your own style. I know this can be challenging for sure, but adjusting the way that you communicate to possibly help another person understand you slightly better, especially if you're giving a tour, might be important, because then you'll be able to help them understand. So whether this is by talking slower, or if this is by making sure that your vocabulary changes so that it's a little bit more direct. So instead of saying maybe yes, or like hopefully later, by giving a specific time. I think in the US, things like besok or like tomorrow have like really specific meanings. And in Indonesia, I remember the timing of things was a little bit more fluid. So if you tell someone that you're communicating with like tomorrow at 7:30 a.m. or that kind of thing, just be really specific and direct, and almost as if you're talking to someone that's younger. So yeah, these are the culture shocks that I experienced. I think that these are culture shocks that a lot of Americans do experience while going abroad. One that I forgot to write down was just the heat and the weather was a culture shock for sure. Actually, there's two that I forgot to write down. So first one would be the heat. Here in Spokane, it does get pretty hot during the summer with like a 40, which is 115 degrees Fahrenheit, or 40, I believe it's 38 or 39 Celsius. But I was not prepared for the humidity because we don't have a lot of humidity here. So that's another culture shock. And then the final culture shock would probably be the traffic. So even in Malang, I would say the traffic, and especially in Jakarta, traffic was a culture shock that I experienced just because there is so much more traffic, and there's the traffic might be slightly slower. I have so much admiration for anyone who drives in Indonesian traffic, because it seemed like it was certainly challenging to navigate. But yeah, traffic, even in bigger cities like Atlanta, where I go to college, the traffic is both slightly more organized and slightly quicker, slightly less jammed, so to speak, than any traffic that I ever experienced in Indonesia. So traffic, definitely another culture shock. So yeah, next, I'm going to spend the next 5-10 minutes or so talking about different language learning resources. So the first language learning resource is Duolingo. So Duolingo is an app that was created to help people who want to learn different languages. With Duolingo, there is an English language test that you can take. And with this test, it does work for some colleges, or if you're looking to go abroad for your S2, it does work for some of those. They have a test, it's similar to TOEFL, but it focuses more on speaking, and but it also does work on grammar. So Duolingo is a great resource both for learning the language and for testing. With Duolingo, you learn both by speaking so that you can practice your accent, and also by listening. There's different stories that you can listen to with comprehension questions. There's different audios. Duolingo also has a few podcasts, which I highly recommend. All of the podcasts have their transcripts online. And then, of course, reading, you can also read some of the stories. Duolingo is probably one of my top language learning resources. I have I personally use Duolingo. I've been using it for, oh gosh, I want to say 4 or 5 years now. So it's been a while for sure. The next learning language resource I would say is journaling in your target language. This is another thing that I do. So I have learned 5-ish languages in my life. Spanish, which I used to communicate with my dad's side of the family, English, of course, Indonesian, and then in Turkish, which I took for a semester or so, Chinese. And so those are just different languages. With every single language that I've learned, I've realized that writing, even if it's just a sentence or a word like good or bike in your target language, is super helpful in terms of retaining the language, in terms of practicing day-to-day vocabulary. Yeah, so I highly recommend this, and it's okay to mix languages. If you are thinking and all of a sudden you forget the word in English first, of course you can look it up, but if you're in a jam, you can always write the word in your native language and then go back and find that. So journaling in your target language is a great resource. It's something I do. Even just, you can also put your calendar in your target language. Like if you just put like your to-do list in English, it's a great way to practice. Another thing that I really recommend is listening to the radio in your target language. So NPR, has anyone heard of NPR? Yes, no, anyway, NPR stands for the National Public Radio. It is a free public radio service that's really popular across the US. I grew up listening to NPR, and I still listen to NPR every morning. They have great news stories, and they also do different podcasts that talk about different issues. So if you're interested in possibly American culture issues, there's Code Switch, which is a great podcast by NPR. This is all free. They do transcripts of their podcast, so that's also nice if you miss a word, or sometimes people speak in slightly different accents. This American Life, their 1 hour long podcast. Here it airs every Sunday at like 4 p.m. Pacific, but it's a great resource. I cannot recommend NPR enough. There's a few exchange students at my school. One of them is on the Fulbright program, and she said that before coming to the US, she listened to NPR every morning. So cannot recommend NPR enough. And then you can also check in about different cities that you're interested in. So for example, Spokane has Spokane Public Radio, which is SPR. And this is a branch of NPR, but they do slightly more locally specific news. So they might talk about the weather and how it's cold here, or different things like that. So NPR is a great resource. I cannot recommend it enough. There's also other websites that you can pull up online, and you can listen to the radio in different countries. So yeah, next, interacting with native speakers. There's a few different resources that I've used, and that I know people that have used. One of them is Tandem, which is an app that connects you to native speakers. You can filter them by age, location, accent, whatnot. And it's just a great way to practice speaking English with someone, even if it's just like recording yourself and sending voice memos. On that note, sending voice memos, not sending voice memos, but recording voice memos in your target language. I keep an audio journal that I'll sometimes do if I'm like taking a dog walk and I don't feel like writing down stuff, but I still am thinking. Recording yourself in a voice memo is a great way to practice your target language. Just then you can go back and listen and correct things, or just go back and listen and look back on your day. Other ways to interact with native speakers, of course, volunteer work. When AFS Malik, when Binantra Budaya has accepted students in the past, I know this is a way that people can interact with native speakers. And again, the volunteers that work with AFS and Binantra Budaya really do make a difference in exchange students' lives. I can test this. Another great resource is attending events, both live and via Zoom. So I don't know if y'all have heard of it, but there is the American Corner at OM, which is a library that is sponsored by the United States Department of State. And it has a lot of different books that you can check out that are in English. You can go there. They do different cultural events. I know there was a Halloween event in the past, and they also do different Zoom events. So this is right in Malang. You can go there. And they have lots of different resources. If you're studying for the TEFL, they have TEFL books. And in the past, they've hosted different native speakers there as well. And then in the future, hopefully pandemic permitting, they'll be able to have Fulbright and Peace Corps and whatnot volunteers back there. So Education USA, there is one in Surabaya and one in Jakarta. They are currently doing a lot of different Zoom events that have in the past included native speakers. I spoke at one for Halloween, which was really fun. And that also included one of the US diplomatic staff who also spoke at the event, So this is another resource. The US Embassy in Jakarta also does a few different events, and these are all great resources. They're all free. Most of them are sponsored by the US Department of State. And yes, they can also help you find different scholarships and different opportunities to potentially study or work abroad. And then last but not least, watching YouTube or TV in your target language is a great resource, and it's a great way to practice your target language. CNN has lots of good free news stories. You can turn, if you go into settings, you can make it so that you can watch the subtitles in 2 languages, which is something that I do when practicing Indonesian and Spanish and Arabic. So you can turn on the languages into 2 languages if you're worried about missing something, and different YouTubers as well. Also on this, I mentioned it earlier with NPR, but podcasts, listening to podcasts as well in English. I haven't met an NPR podcast that I didn't like, but there's also lots of other good ones depending on your interest. And that's it. I just want to say thank you, everyone. And if you are interested in volunteering with Bina Antri Budaya, this is a group that helps incoming host students who are, when Malang has been a host city for different students, it's a great opportunity for you to practice English. And it's a great opportunity to give back to the global world as a whole. And last but not least, it is time for questions and answers. And I will stop sharing my screen. Thank you all so much.
All right, thank you very much for giving us such a wonderful and insightful presentation, Aurel. I believe we got so much insight from you. And everybody, please let us give a warm appreciation to our speaker, Aurel, by hitting the clap reaction button on your Zoom menu below. All right, ladies and gentlemen, now comes to the question and answer session. As I said previously, you can type your questions on the chat box or use the raise hand feature, then turn on your microphone after I call your name. And for your information, there will be door prizes for those who actively asking in the Q&A session. The door prizes are in the form of MAP voucher from CIMB Niaga Bank in the amount of 100,000 rupiah that can be used all over Indonesia in selected counters, and a deposit bank account with 100,000 rupiah credit also from CIMB Niaga Bank. If you want to ask something to Aurel, you can type your questions on the chat box or you can raise your hand. I see that Fanny is raising her hand. Please, Fanny, you can unmute yourself.
All right, thank you, Fitriana. Hello, Aurel. Thank you for the great presentation. I really like your presentation because I'm so happy to learn directly from the U.S. Society, right? Because I like culture. I personally like culture, but usually I just listen or read the culture from US from the books or from YouTube. Okay, so I have a question for you. Okay, previously you said that US society tend to be individual, right? And that's pretty different from us as Indonesian because we tend to do everything in a group, something like that. So my question is how to encourage or motivate us as Indonesian to be more, brave, to do everything by our own selves or to be more independent. Thank you.
That's a great question. I think that one, I don't think there's anything before I answer this one. I don't think there's anything wrong with doing things as a group. I actually think that's something that I've tried to encourage more in the US, but of course, different cultures, different values. I think it's just inherent beauty of differences. But when I'm trying to be more independent, I try and when I'm trying to like take a self-care day, I like to try and just make a plan and try something by myself, even if for example tomorrow I'm there's lots of Christmas lights around currently, and I am hoping to just take myself on a walk around the Christmas lights and enjoy some time just reflecting. It's currently the holiday season here, so I feel like starting small, even if it's just like a self-care day at home, even that's a way to just value yourself and make sure that you're taking care of yourself. And then that can always go on to be slightly bigger things. I know I've really enjoyed traveling by myself, which is something that's, for example, I fly home from Atlanta over break by myself. And this is important, not just because I need to do it about 4 times a year for school, but also because I'm trying to learn to just enjoy having this time. So yeah, starting small and then slowly working your way up to where you're comfortable. And that doesn't always have to mean that you're always by yourself. It's important to be with groups. That has a lot of benefits for mental health. But yeah, start small. That's what I would say. And stay safe at all times.
Thank you. Is that all, Aurel?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for the answer. Fanny, is the answer clear for you, or you want to add something to Aurel?
Marvelous, Aurel. Thank you very much. So that is about the small habit, right? Starting with small habit and try to enjoy ourselves with with our own self. And I would like to share one thing because this is what I feel as Indonesian society. So because we usually or or frequently do something in a group, yes, that's not wrong, okay, but I feel like we're afraid to start everything uh, alone or with our own selves because we're not really confident, something like that. But uh, after you explain about the starting with small habits, I believe that we can we can start to do likewise. Thank you very much, Aurel. Have a good day.
No problem. Happy to help.
Thank you for asking, Fanny, and thank you for the answer, Aurel. Okay, for the next questions comes from Nanda. She asked, as an American that had lived in Indonesia and socialized with Indonesians, Aurel, do you mind telling us about the most interesting experiences while socializing with Indonesians?
Okay, this is a tricky one for sure. I would say one thing in general that I didn't expect that I had a couple interactions with was realizing that in Indonesia, believing in ghosts and spirits and that kind of thing is more common. Well, I wouldn't say it's more common than in the US, but it's just more everyday. Like in the US, people do sometimes believe in ghosts. Like my house is very old and I've definitely heard things or at my school we have a few ghost stories, but just how common it was, or like with Hotel Tugu, hearing the different stories, or I believe it was like SMA Tiga, hearing those different stories about the different ghosts, or even just like within my host families. Yeah, I was surprised by that. That was probably the most interesting thing that just kept coming up in different conversations and interactions, even with my host family. Just like the different, like in the US, like in Indonesia, the belief that like you need to leave the lights on more. I had never even thought of that to like keep away the ghosts or the spirits, because in the US it's like really big that like you need to always turn off your lights even if it's nighttime. So yeah, that's probably the most interesting, just general experience.
Okay, thank you, Aurel. For Nanda, anything to add, or is it all clear? If it is clear, we can move to the next question. I see that Zaki Muhammad is raising his hand. For Zaki, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, Aurelia. I love to hear your experiences in Indonesia. Now I just want to know, like, what's something that you can learn from Indonesia, like all the things in Indonesia, and how do you apply them now in your life, especially in United States? Thank you.
Great question. I would say the two main takeaways is, well, rubber time was definitely something that it took a while to just a lot of time literally to adjust to. I've now tried to be more relaxed about my schedule and to always schedule in time for it to be a little bit more flexible. And well, if I make a plan with someone, I show up 5 minutes early. In my own personal life, I've tried to give my time more flexibility. So that's one way that Indonesia really impacted me. And then also because Indonesians are more indirect, that made me a lot more aware about how I spoke, and not just what I said, but how I said things. And that's helped. I currently teach coding to children, and I also am an intern with Education USA in Turkmenistan, and knowing that how you say things really impacts how people understand them, and that everything can be interpreted in different ways, especially just looking at different indirect conversations that I had with people has really made it so that I'm more aware about what I'm saying and I'm a better communicator. Yes, and then also just with that rubber time, my favorite memories from Indonesia are really just spending time with my host grandma and my host parents. And we wouldn't be doing, like in the US, there's a big focus on like, you need to be doing something, you need to be doing something now, you need to be doing something tomorrow. But I think that just realizing that it is okay to just spend time, and that time doesn't have to be spent doing something has helped me with that whole like personal time. When I schedule that, sometimes I'll just walk around and I won't have any specific goal. I'll just be exploring, and that's something that, or with my roommates, we will go and we will just like, we have a game called No Maps where we just drive to a certain point and then we try and get back without any maps. And one of the reasons I'm able to do that and feel comfortable is because of the whole concept of just like having time, spending time with others, and enjoying the time that you have. So yes, those are two big takeaways that I am forever grateful for. So yeah.
Thank you, Zaki, for asking. There is another question from Fanny. I would like to ask one more question to Aurelia. Where can we find further information about the volunteering activity that has been mentioned by Aurel?
For Bina Antarbudaya, I believe if you Google Bina Antarbudaya, or there might be a representative from Bina Antarbudaya here that could send a link. I also believe that y'all's teacher has some information. So yes,
Yeah.
and then
I think we can visit Bina Antarbudaya Malang. Yeah. All right then. I think one more last questions. From Kiki, what do you think it is more comfortable, living in Indonesia or America?
I would say right now, I definitely miss Indonesia and the warmth, thinking about how outside it's like -9 degrees Celsius. I don't think I could choose. I really love both countries. So yeah. And then if you'd like, I could answer the next two questions just in a sentence or two, if that would, not sure how we're doing time-wise.
Okay, we can move to the next questions then. From Nabila Senja. Because you have felt both, can you give us tips how to Indonesian adjust to living in America with the American or Europe culture? Maybe it is tips.
Yeah, I would say ask lots of questions. Remember that these two cultures are a lot more direct. So if someone seems like they're being rude, they might just be being more direct. And that's a general thing with their communication style. I would also say ask for help when you need it and make sure that you're able to find a sense of community, join clubs that have similar interests, and yeah, and join organizations in your community as well.
Okay, I think this is the last questions because our time is limited. From Helmalia, if that is any tips or some motivation that we can learn from you when it comes for learning a new language, as we know that you also learn some Indonesian, which is so different from your other language. I'm very interested on learning a new language, but I found it quite difficult to start it.
I would say start small is the first thing, even if it's just learning the alphabet or that sort of thing, practicing that every day, and then also find a motivation or, and like for me, my motivation for I'm enrolled in an Indonesian class through the KBRI DC, and my motivation for learning Indonesian is both so that I can continue to communicate with my host family, and also because I really like the sense of community that we have, even though it's on Zoom. And then to make sure that you have a why, and then also try and practice whenever you can, try and have a community that you practice with. And you know, if you can get hooked on a TV show or a podcast that's in your target language, that will be all the more motivation for you to learn the language, because you got to listen to the next podcast or episode.
All right, thank you. So ladies and gentlemen, it seems that we still have questions that have not been answered, but due to the limited time, I do apologize that the Q&A session has to be finished now. Thank you very much to the participants who have asked such good questions. And as a reminder, two of you who are actively asking questions will deserve a door prize from our committee, and our MC will announce the winners at the end of the webinar. So please prepare yourself. And I have drawn a conclusion from this presentation session. The conclusions of Aurel's presentation is culture is the ways of life, including arts, beliefs, and institution of a population that are passed down from generation to generations. As Aurel delivered not only in different country, even in one country such as Decatur and spoken, they have different country, which is Atlanta has 2 seasons and Spokane has 4 seasons. And based on Aurel experience, there are some differences between Indonesia and American culture. Indonesian people speaks louder, and Indonesian people is indirect. They tend to be group, and Indonesian people like jam karet. And one thing to handle is adjusting with your style, such as by talking slower, changing the vocabulary, and giving the specific time. I think that is the conclusion from me. Aurel, do you want to add something before we close the session?
No, I just wanted to say thank you all so much. I really enjoyed speaking to you all, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day and good night from Washington State. I hope you all enjoyed it, and mohon maaf kalau ada kesalahan. So sorry if I made any mistakes or confusions during my presentation. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Aurel. Thank you for the closing statement also. So, well, ladies and gentlemen, we finally come to the end of the first session of this webinar. Please stay in front of your device because we will continue to the next session with another inspiring speaker. I am Fitriana Nur Salsabila. As the moderator of this session, would like to say thank you very much for your enthusiasm and participation. Deeply apologize should there be an inappropriate word or gesture from me during moderating this session. And after this, I will give the floor back to our MC. Thank you. See you on another occasion. Goodbye.
Okay, thank you very much, Fitriana, for moderating the first session. I hope everybody already got new knowledge, insight, and lessons from the first presentation session. Before continuing to the following agenda, we would like to say big gratitude to sponsors and media partners who are supporting today's webinar. Thank you to CIMB Niaga Bank, Wisata Petik Madu, and Red Doors as our sponsors. And then huge thank to the media partners such as Siswa Malang, Infokos Malang, Acara Mahasiswa, Kampus Malang, Radio PLFM, Event Malang, Mahasiswa Unitri, Mahasiswa UB, Mahasiswa Malang, Info UM, Mahasiswa UIN Maliki, Forda Polinema, Politeknik Negeri Malang, and English Student Association of Polinema. We also would like to thank Bina Antar Budaya or Indonesian Foundation for Intercultural Learning Chapter Malang for connecting us with our speaker, Ms. Aurelia VanderWilde. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, that was only the beginning. And now we are moving to the next agenda, that is the talk show session from our second speaker, Mr. Abdul Malik Siswantoro. But do not worry, because for this session, we are going to meet Claresta Prameldasanti, a student of Diploma-Free English Study Program of State Polytechnic of Malang, as the moderator who will lead us. So Claresta Prameldasanti, the time is yours.
All right. Thank you, Dia Ayu, for welcoming me. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Our second session is about to begin. So please have a nice seat and thank you very much for preparing yourself to join our second speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce myself. I am Claresta Prameldasanti as moderator of today's webinar on the second speaker. I'm very pleased to see you here and welcome all of you to this webinar. Ladies and gentlemen, our speaker in the second session is Mr. Abdul Malik Siswantoro, and I will help you to read the resume of Mr. Siswantoro for all of you. For the education background, the first one is degree from STIB Malang. The second one is Dutch language of Volksuniversiteit Amsterdam. And then the last one is some others. For the example is like courses, seminars, training in tourism knowledge and skill. And for organizational background, the first one is Chairman of Indonesian Tourist Guide Association Chapter Malang Raya. The second one is member of BPBD, Badan Promosi Wisata Daerah Malang Raya, Tourism Promotional Regional Board of Malang Raya. And the last one is General Secretary of Indonesian Guide Association of Java Province. And I will read the working experience. The first one is Branch of East Java Government Tourism Office Staff. And the second one is Manager Malang Tourist Information Center. The next one is Senior Tourist Guide of East Java Province. And the next one is Tutorial Staff D3, D4, Merdeka University. And the next one is Tutorial Staff of University Brawijaya Malang, UIN Malang. And the last one is Keynote Speaker Courses, Seminars, and Training in Tourism Knowledge and Skill. Ladies and gentlemen, before the presentation begins, let me inform you how the presentation will be going on. The first one is Mr. Siswantoro will be invited to present the material in 45 minutes. After that, there will be question and answer session in 15 minutes and followed conclusion by moderator. Now, allow me to welcome the speaker, Mr. Siswantoro. Hello, Mr. Siswantoro.
Okay, hello.
Okay, all right. How are you, Mr. Siswantoro?
Fine, I'm thanks, and how you too?
I'm great too. Okay, all right. I will give the floor to you to present about our topic. Mr. Siswantoro, the floor is yours.
Okay. Okay, well, thanks a lot for the time. For me, it is wow. Yeah, I see on the screen we have 232 participants, but wow, I'm so lonely in this crowd. Yeah, so would you like to open your mic and then let us rock our tourism today? Please, on your mic. Okay? Okay, everybody, with all the participants, 250, and then we try to cheer up our tourism because it is tourism seminar and you can't be just like a professor. Yeah? Okay. Clap your hand. We rock the tourism. We will rock you, tourism. Okay, you may put up your microphone now, but I just would like to make you not really in situations of formal. Yeah, no. That is not seem like tourism should be. Well, especially greeting due to Pak Joni, Pak Sugeng, Mbak Ririt, and special one over there. I don't know whether she will stay here waiting for me to say something or she already left me alone here. Yeah, especially for Aurelia. Thanks for everybody. Thanks for Polynema, the State Polytechnic in Malang, who already invited me to be a guest here, to be a keynote speaker here. Well, audience, I really do hope that my voice is clear enough and yeah, you can understand what kind of English I speak is. Yeah. Well, actually, I really have a special moment here. My heart beat hardly and quickly now. And I will make it also happen to you that you will come to the real tourism world. Well, audience, first we will come to the seminar or webinar, the importance of English for tourist guide. Okay, operator, you may open the other page of this seminar. Oh, a nice picture, yeah? Well, first of all, of course, I would like to welcome you to Tourism World. And I really do hope, unless I would like to rock and roll our tourism today are also, we want to be the winner or the champion of tourism after having this seminar, because I'm sure I will open not actually all of the life of tourism in Indonesia, but just a little of it, not more than 10%. But for you who would like to know more about tourism, please come to the Polynema, because next year they have tourism, what's it? Tourism industry, language for tourism industry. It is nice, yeah? Well, audience, you should be now really cheerful in attending the seminar. It is not seminar, it is a talk show, yeah, with a very beautiful Gaya as my friend here to accompany me, so I'm not lonely anymore now. Thank you, Gaya. Well, needing you know, audience, tourism, if you go to school or academy, then you will see it should be studied for a two department or case. That is, we are studying hotel and tour and travel. Okay, next. Talking about learning tourism words, and then for the words, I just talk about hotel. If we are talking about the hotel, and then it will produce a hotelier, mostly or basically it is divided into three. That is the professional in front office. It could be Apple receptionist, cashier, or the other lost and phone. And then the second is housekeeping department. So you will be served by a room boy, bellboy, and the others. And the third, food and beverage department, that is also divided into two. That is FB product and FB service. Over there, you will find the chef, helper, cook in the kitchen with all the pieces of making the cuisine of Indonesia, that I'm sure it is nice. And also then goes to the restaurant served by the waiter or waiters, or lead by the captain, bartender, or someone else. Okay, next. And then we come little bit focus on our discussion today, that it is we are talking about traveling. That is based on the material of the education, tours and travel. And then if we are talking about tour and travel, it is based on a bureau which handle a tour or a traveling, yeah, that is called as Tours and Travel Bureau, or in Indonesia we call it as Biro Perjalanan Wisata, or the other one is Agen Perjalanan. But it is different, yeah. How it is different, of course, I don't want to tell you here, but next year you may come to Polynema and learn it more detail. Okay, well, audience, and the Tour and Travel Bureau, or Biro Perjalanan Wisata, then you will find it is already kind of what's it department in 90s era. They will have a tour department, ticketing department, and marketing department, and we just focus on the tour department. Okay, next. What we can find in the tour department is the personnel. I mean, then it could be in the future will be one of your chance to be professional in it. Yeah, it is starting by the tour planner professional. Yeah, tour planner is someone who maintain, who manage, who plan, who make all the package tour. Yeah, that it should be divided into domestic tour and the others. And then the second is tourist guide. Tourist guide is a professional who handle the package tour made by tour planner. And then if it is outside the tour, I mean, we have many kinds of a tour starting from domestic, inbound, and outbound. And then if it is outbound package tour, it should be led by tour leader. Yeah, okay, next. Because I just will welcome you to tourism at glance. So if you already master your language, and then I will show you what is the correlation between language and the tourism word. Okay, when? Well, now we are talking about a tourist guide. Who is a tourist guide? Yeah, and then a tourist guide. Next, to be tourist guide, you have to have three matra or skill. Yeah, matra of being tourist guide. So, tourist guide is a profession. Just the same like if you would like to be a doctor, to be a engineer, to be a lawyer, and others. So never underestimate the professions of tourist guide, because the take-home pay, it could be $1 million per day. Yeah. Okay. Well, audience, how being a tourist guide? Of course, you should first have the knowledge of tourism concerning the destination, the geography of tourism, and any others that you should learn or study in a special department in university, or maybe some kind like in Polynema or Polytechnic Malang. And then the second is the skill of tourism. Of course, will be nothing if your knowledge of tourism without any skill of tourism, because how to apply your knowledge of tourism, you should have all the skill of tourism. So it becomes from the kind of knowledge become a real service. And then the last is foreign language, whatever the foreign, unless it is not Maduris or the others, yeah, or Balinese or the others, or Sundanese, no, but foreign language, yeah. Okay. By these three matra, of course, it is still not enough to be a professional tourist guide. Okay, let us little bit discuss about what is the most important in tourism word. Okay, package tour. Well, audience, yes, nowadays or in this time, we are talking about a tourist guide, but it should be correlated with the other thing that is actually tourist guide, package tour, and tourist itself. Yeah, tourist guide as the operator, package tour as a package of a work that you should handle, and a tourist is the object, a person who you serve. Okay, and little bit talking about package tour. Yeah, basically it have three kinds of package tour. That is a domestic package tour, inbound tour, and outbound tour. Domestic, of course, you know it. Inbound is foreigner who come here and make all the traveling in Indonesia. That is inbound tour, and outbound tour is we are Indonesian people go outside and then traveling outside of our country. That is outbound tour. Okay, next. And then, as I told you, you should know exactly the three main components of how we come to the tourism industry. Yeah, that is, I already talked about the tourist guide, about the package tour, and now the type of tourists. I suppose, as long as you know, the type of tourists is only domestic tourists and foreign tourists, right? Okay, maybe is it right that as long as you study or know about the type of tourist, it is just a domestic tourist and foreign tourist, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sure. Yeah. Okay, actually, well, audience, we have at least 4 types of tourists. That is domestic tourists, foreign tourists, domestic foreign tourists, and indigenous foreign tourists. Of course, figuratively, if we find tourists, it is just as a foreign with a blue eyes, with a blonde hair, and with a little bit so strange language, yeah. Even it is coming from America, Africa, Europe, America, or the others. And then that is we think it a foreign tourist, actually not always. Yeah, because we have that we call as indigenous foreign, sorry, a domestic foreign tourist. Okay, but we will not discuss again. We will discuss it in a class because it needs totally talking about tourism and mastering the tourism 6 semesters. Yeah. Okay. Next, how to be a professional tourist guide? Well, audience, as I told you, that tourist guide is a profession. It means if it is a profession like a doctor, of course, it should be what we said, legal, right? Yeah. So professional, authentic, identical to legal. Yeah. So what they say, professional tourist guide, you have to have tools of legal operation. That's what I told you. Okay, next, how to be a professional tourist guide. As I told you, we will come to know what should be owned by a real or legal tourist guide. Okay, next, yeah. That is a license. Yeah, this is the requirements to get a tourist guide license and certification. Well, audience, it is far different to the time when I was a student like you now, but I was in Stiva Malang and then become a tourist guide without any certification. But now you have to have a guide license as a remark that you are a real guide or legal guide, and certification. Well, starting from the 90s, I'm saying that now all of the work need kind of certification. If you are stated as a professional, it should be certificated, not only the statement that I am professional, that I able to handle tour, package tour, and I can serve a tourist and others. No, it is not enough because all of the world, especially the client, the tourism industry need a proof that you are a real professional tourist guide. That is by showing the certificate of your capability in handling tour and tourists. Okay. Conclusion now. I would like to come to the, I have to check my speech or my explanation. It is already within 10 minutes. It's enough that now we come to the end of our opening to the word of tourism. That is conclusion, the correlation between language and tourism industry. Okay. Audience, of course, language take also the main, the main instrument in serve the tourism industry. Why? Because language is a mean of communication, yeah. Because it is impossible we serve tourism without any verbal communication. So we have action and verbal communication as a service, yeah, or how to serve our tourists to enjoy, to have all the experience of having traveling in Indonesia. And last, at the end of the traveling, they will have all the experience, anything about the goodness, about the beauty, about the impressive and hospitality of Indonesia by action and verbal communication. And also language serve destination to tourists mostly because you can not only show the destination as it is, yeah, sometimes it is just kind of a stone, it is just kind of a cave, but it will be more impressive and more interesting when you are as a tourist guide, then explain, actually, this is not only such a cave, but it has a very, very legendary story in it. And it will be very nice that tourists have all the knowledge of it, right? And then it is also a means of showing your hospitality. Yes, of course, we can show our hospitality only by smiling, by adding some part of our lips, but it is not enough if you can say something like, say something to send the greeting. And then the last is expose the beauty of culture, tradition, and custom. How can serve the tourists by all these means if you don't have any language of them? Well, audience, I really do hope it will inspire you, make your spirit up, and then much more. You will following up to the end our talk show with the most beautiful Kia. Yeah. Okay. Okay, yeah, it's enough for me. Just do something about tourism and welcoming the audience to tourism industry.
All right, thank you so much, Pak Siswantoro, for general information about how tourism industry explain it. And I want to asking you about our topic. The first one is, can you tell us about the experience as a professional in tourism? Especially is experience from you, because in your profile we know that you are the professional licensed tour guide and then a founder of Malang Tourist Information Center.
Yes.
Let me share.
Right. Oh, nice to be with you. I'm not so lonely now. Okay, yeah. Okay, well, all the audience over there, keep continuing your watching on your screen of your laptop or handphone, yeah, because it is a precious information if you would like to make your life more important and success in the future, especially in a tourism industry. Well, audience, I really would like to give the moment when I was first time come to tourism industry, just really identic to especially the student of Pauline now. But at the time in 1990, I was a student of Siva Malang that learning about the major English language, and the second is German language. But yeah, I little bit regret it because actually I need a Netherlands or Dutch language rather than German, because I've been in Netherlands for 5 years. Okay, well, at that time in 1990, I was coming to the end of my study of English. Then I pondered on what is the functions of my English language for? Yeah, I have to know it. So from now on, please do think the same way like me. And then I just look around. Yeah, fortunately, I was staying in Malang at that time, because I am native Malangnese, a native Malangnese, yeah. So I just think, oh yeah, I see that Malang is a little bit touristic town. That every year many tourists come to Malang, and I see no tourist tourist information service or boat exists in Malang. So I just think at the time, how if I make this kind of tourist information service to serve tourists, and maybe I will have a benefit of make it. Yeah. So with all the struggle, with all the power, with all the willingness, I try to make it possible. But unfortunately, it is quite hard. Not like now, as you are here in this area, you have everything. You have the board of tourism, government tourism department. You have now me as a professional in tourism that you can ask me and something else. At the time, no even board can I ask for my willingness to set tourist information service. But luckily, God bless me. God knows what I want. And that is the beauty of having a religion. I have a noticement from the government of East Java. Yeah, in East Java, in province of East Java, we have what we call it as Dinas Pariwisata Pariwisata Jawa Timur. At that time, they announced they need to recruit tourist guide. So this is I will show you how I become a professional of tourism for the beginning. Yeah. So at that time, I go to Surabaya, try to apply to be a tourist guide. So I did all the tests, that is written and oral test with my 5 or 6 friends. Yeah, but sorry, say to them, because only me that at the time passed the test. So I passed the test, and then afterward, I have to attend the training for 121 hours, learning about many kinds of knowledge of tourism. Yeah, so within a month, if I'm not a mistake, I should stay in Surabaya, and then at the end, we still have all the tests, and then, yeah, God bless me, thanks God that I passed the test, and then I get or have the license. Maybe the operator would like to show me that if you are, as I told you, we should have a license to be called as a really tourist guide or a professional tourist guide. Yeah, maybe Mbak Gea can show me what kind of license it is.
All right, maybe operator, can you?
Okay. Yeah, over there the above one, that is pemerintah Provinsi Jawa Timur Dinas Pariwisata. Ya, tanda pengenal pramuwisata madya. Oh yeah, audience, I should say that to be professional tourist guide, it should be step by step, starting from the junior tourist guide, and then senior tourist guide, and then could be tour leader. So the question is, what is the difference between a junior, senior, and tour leader? Yes, junior tourist guide or pramuwisata muda, it is different in operational area. If it is pramuwisata muda or junior tourist guide, you just may operating your capability as a tourist guide in your domicile. Something like me, yeah, I just can be as a tourist guide in Malang. At the time, still Malang Raya, yeah, concerning Malang Kota, Malang Kabupaten, and Kota Batu. Yeah, not more. And then after 3 times 2, it's about 5 or 6 years, and then you may apply to rise up your position from junior, become a senior tourist guide. And then here it is, I have it, yeah. And then afterward, you have to go to have certification. I'm really sorry, I forget to give the committee my certificate of tourist guide that I really capable. Yeah, so I do hope that all of you, if you are if you would like to be a professional, please do certification, because it is very, very important and you need it, badly needed. Yeah. After that, it is also the government regulations said after having all the certificate and mainly the the badge or license, you have to go to the professional organization. Yeah, that is in Indonesia, like in the right side below, you say Himpunan Pramuwisata Indonesia or HPI or Indonesian Tourist Guide Association. Yeah, you have to go there, and then the other one on the right side, you see that is my photo on member card of HPI. Okay, that is about how my experience for the first time. Since then, after come to the organizations of Tourist Guide in Indonesia, chapter East Java, then I become really tourist guide. Okay, that's that I can tell you, Akea and the audience. Maybe you still have something to ask me.
All right, thank you so much for Pak Siswantoro for giving such a good explanation about the first question, experience as professional in tourism. This is my first time to know if you have a long story to get your license and then to become a professional tourist guide. And I think I will continue with the second question. The second question is talking about you can tell us to how to become a professional tourist guide.
Okay. Okay, as I told you before in the first session, the first question, how to have all the way become a professional tourist guide. But in the first session, it is just old-fashioned. And now we are coming to the kekinian, yeah. We come to the millennial era, yeah. I really come to the jungle when I'm talking about millennial. Sorry for it. Okay, audience, the best way how to become professional in tourism world, especially as a tourist guide, as my experience along 31 years, once more, 31 years. So yeah, I get everything in it. I get family, I get a house, I get everything. Yeah, I get also children. Yeah, okay. The first way how you become a professional or reach your professional in tourism, of course, first just go or study about tourism. At the same time, you also try to find the way how you can master foreign language, whatever. It could be Chinese, Japan, German, or much more English. At least you may have English as an international language, and then the second language, you may have German, Chinese, and the other. It will make your chance to be a professional tourist guide widely open. Yeah. Okay. After having all the way how you get, as I told you, you have to master three things or matra. That is knowledge, skill, and language, right? Yeah. So at the same time, because Pak Sugeng last time said that Polinama also have next year have a program of language for tourism industry. Oh, that is amazing. Because why? At one, you can learn the two of your the matra. That is learning language and learning tourism. How to handle tourism. It is amazing. And then you just need the skill. So you will empowering your skill by doing. If you already know the knowledge and master the language, yeah. And then after all the education period, of course, you will come to the end like me. And then the first thing you should to do is just try to contact your person who know tourism well. It is not a promotion. If I have a long life, you may call me and I will gladly open my handphone, my house to give you all the advice and underline free. Yeah, ongkir, free ongkir. Or free advisory. Yeah. Okay. Well, afterward, you may also go straightly if you know want to discuss about tourism or how to come to tourism world. It is easy. Nowadays, almost every place, I mean, city and region, they have tourism department. I don't know, Kea, where are you from?
I'm come from Bali.
Wow, Bali is quite easy to become a tourist guide, of course. Yeah, you just go there to the tourism department. If not, I suggest you just come to HPI, chapter Bali, or wherever you are. If you are in Samarinda, yeah, just go to your what's it, HPI, Himpunan Pariwisata Indonesia, or Tourist Guide Association in your place. And over there, you will find all the professional tourist guide resemble or together in one organization, and you will learn much how really to be tourist guide. And you may also what you call it magang, yeah, or training period in HPI, and then yeah, you will soonly become a tourist guide. But of course, you never do all the activities if you never have your certificate in mostly what's it, the license. So that is the way, and then you just with your luck, of course, with all effort. Okay. Okay.
I'm sorry, Pak Siswantoro. I want to remind you if the presentation is 10 minutes left.
Oh. I thought to the audience, yeah, if you're really interested in this case, please, please, please come and join us. I don't want to promote anything, but really you already heard many times and I already give you the symptom how to be professional with me. Yeah, yeah, okay, yeah, so you have another question for me.
Yes, Mr. Siswantoro, I think this is the last our talk show. And the last is, can you tell us the prospect of tourism graduate?
Okay. I suppose it is not only the prospective what's it, tourism graduate, but also language. Yeah, it will be much what's it useful or meaningful while it is graduating from the combination between knowledge of language and tourism. I guarantee you, you will become a professional sooner than the other student. Sure, because to be a tourist guide, you need to learn more aspect, more knowledge or skill, but you just finishing your study in a good way as a good student, attending all the class, and then try to applying all the theory and all the knowledge of it, and then frequently you will contact to your friend in your language, I mean your foreign language and other, and then it is quite prospective because, however, what is called by tourism, I think tourism never die. Yeah, it will be die after the day or the day after. Yeah, yeah, it will be finished after all the work finished. Because as a human being, you need a happiness, you need a relax. And tourism is a luxury word. Tourism is hospitality word, and you get all the joyness of having this life by tourism, and then you come to the serious life of faith. Okay, sorry, I asked you back. You mean I still have 10 minutes for explaining something, or it is just 10 minutes for answering question?
Excuse me, sir.
Totally, I still have 10 minutes, including the answer or question, or I still have 10 minutes to tell you a little bit more about tourism.
I'm sorry, 10 minutes left is for your presentation, and for the question and answer session, there will be 15 minutes after the presentation end.
And now, exactly, still how many minutes?
I think there are still a few minutes to you explain or maybe add something more about tourism.
Okay, I'm sure I will give more question and answer time because I really do hope that all the audience out there will wake up and stare at me, not stare at the PowerPoint of me, but for me, and have all the courage to pick out all the questions concerning how to be a professional tourist guide. Well, audience, it is make me so proud of you, especially many thanks to Polinema that already this morning invite me to be one of the keynote speaker in here. So I suppose I just give the discount for this presentation, and I'm sure if I have a question and then I wonder that I can answer it more wide, and they don't have any other questions should be answered. Okay, Kea.
All right, thank you so much for Pak Siswantoro for giving us such
Welcome.
informative and interesting presentation. So, ladies and gentlemen, now come to the question and answer session. You can use raise hand feature and turn on your microphone, or you can type your question on the chat box, and I will help you to read your question. And I will remind you again about the door prize for those participants who are actively asking questions. So for all the participants, okay, there are one question on the chat box. I will read the first one from the chat box. I will read that for you, Pak Siswantoro. The first one comes from the participant from UMM Helmalia. The question is, I would like to ask, I'm sorry. I would like to ask, what is the most important thing for someone that wants to be tourist guide that needs to be studied or prepared beforehand? The time is yours, Pak Siswantoro, to answer the question.
Okay, thank you. Who is he? Helmia. Helmalia. Oh my God, where are you?
Helmalia.
Helmalia. Helmalia, where are you? I suppose I already, with all the enthusiastic, tell you about how to become a professional tourist guide. Like you asked me, what is the most important thing for someone that want to be tourist guide that needs to be studied, prepare beforehand. You needn't any preparation, just go to Paulina next year. then you will learn about tourism. You will learn about the language. Yeah, that is the two things that three things actually. I told you, yeah, you have to have a knowledge of tourism. You have to be skilled in tourism, and you have to master a language, a foreign language, whatever. And then if you would like to study or learn autodidactically, of course it is possible, because this era is everything is possible. Yeah, you just try to see what's it like, oh my God, I forget it to say, like what do you say, not a real package tour, not real package tour, like a streaming, what you call it, oh my God, the tour, yes, I'm an old man still. Yeah, yeah, maybe someday you need try to buy a virtual tour, and how the tourist guide explain you about everything. But the most effective one, of course, you have to go to department who give you all the knowledge of tourism and language. And then the second preparation, you just apply in your skill. Sorry, that is the only way, no other way. Yeah, you may choose even autodidactly or in school or university. Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you so much for Pak Siswantoro for such a good answer. And for Helmalia, I hope the answer from Pak Siswantoro answer your question. And then the second one comes from Fanny from Polynema. He raised hand. Maybe you can turn on your microphone, and maybe if you can turn on your camera, so Pak Siswantoro can talk with you. Fanny, you can
don't be shy.
turn on your microphone.
I'm okay. I'm not wild anymore.
Hello. Yeah, hello. Good morning, Mr. Siswantoro.
Good morning.
Yeah, thank you for the insightful presentation. I would like to ask something that is related to the personality, because as far as I know, being a tour guide is related to like communicate with a lot of new people, right? So that is something that are not really mastered by some of the introverts. So my question is, how do you suggest us, or how do you suggest to some introvert people to more, confident in the tour guide field? Because actually, some maybe there are a lot of people assume that, oh, I don't wanna be a tour guide because I'm an introvert, but at the same time I want it. So how do you suggest us? Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this is Amanda. Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
Funny.
funny. You are talking to the other friend, or it is you yourself?
Actually, actually, I'm an ambivert. I can be introvert, but I also can be extrovert.
Okay, it is quite easy to answer your question about the introvert guys or sister. Yeah, it is quite easy. Of course, as a tourist guide, you have to own many characters, because a guide is not just such an informant in tourism where no, in a package tour you are as an informant, of course not. It will be very not real. Ladies and gentlemen, in front of you, you will see the monument of Oku Monument, Malang, blah, 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 blah. And then every tourist got or fall asleep. No, unless you also to be a clown, to be a joker, to be entertainer, to be host, and many characters you should have. And it is only based on some characters. First, you have to some characters like you to be trusted. Yeah, you to be responsibility, have a responsibility. And then the most important thing, you have to have sense of humor. Yeah. And how to make it possible? I'm introvert, Pak Sis. No worry, just come to me within not more than 2 semesters, you will be extrovert and little bit gilani. Yeah? Because I have all the way to make it is proof. I already also as a teacher of a university, yeah, as it is stated in my curriculum vitae, within 30 years, I have all the way how to motivate, how to make introvert student become extrovert and success. Yeah, my student already become a professional tourist, a manager of a hotel, in the government, and scattered in every field of tourism world. Trust me, I just give you, actually it is a very high price, or yeah, remasid larang kira, yeah. But I will give you one of the theory of it. In my class, when I teach you as a teacher of guiding technique, I also do in my curriculum to dig out your character, something like a sense of humor. Yeah. So in 2 or 3 meeting, we are not studying. We are just joking. Everybody should come up on the class and then, please tell me funny story. Please tell me or give me a funny quiz. Something like this. Yeah. Sometimes, for the first time, it is not funny story, but he himself or she herself is funny. But it's okay. Yeah, at least all the friends will be, yeah, even the introvert will, smile for the first time and then ngakak, yeah. Okay, okay. So it is the character should be trained. The character should be dig out, like a sense of humor, and then and as a entertainer, and then helpful, even helpful. It is sometimes it is quite difficult to do, like when you're a tourist, smoking and need what's it, a fire, and then the matches is out there, and then he tried to catch the matches, and then you just without aware it, that you just keep calm, doing nothing. So it should be trained how you become helpful, become full of humor and everything. So never have a dream that suddenly only by a theory and then you become extrovert. Mimpi kali ya. Yeah. So Biswa, the best way is just studying, especially for tourism and language. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much for Pak Siswantoro to
Welcome.
answer the question. For Fanny, if you, I'm sorry, is the answer is enough for you?
Hello, Fanny. Answer me, please.
Hello. Yes. Understand, sir.
Understand, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
So
right,
it's about
thank
the
you so much.
character.
I suppose you already, Fanny, the student of Polynema for language department, yeah?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it is just add your what's it, knowledge and skill of tourism. Then you become really a professional tourist guide. And as I told you, my handphone, my house is open 24 hours.
Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you very much. That is very helpful. I will learn a joke someday.
Yeah.
I will learn how to tell a joke.
You have
Not
to
a
learn
lame
by
joke, of course.
yourself. Yeah. Now there's so many jokes that you can make it and what's it, imitate it. Huh? Yeah. Maybe you need to see lapor pak every day. Yeah. Okay.
All right, thank you so much for Fanny to asking the question. And then I will continue for the next question is from Gigi Dewa. The question is, I would like to ask, as we know that Malang and Batu is one of the most tourist destination in Indonesia. And what do you think about the facilities in there? I mean, the facility and the service is enough or needs some upgrading? The time is yours, Pak Siswantoro, to answer the question.
Okay. Hello, Kiki Dewa. Are you here? Can you show your face? So it will be very nice for me to answer it because I can make a communication with you, and it will be much understandable if I can communicate face to face with you. Because I wonder, after writing the question, then you fly away. Kiki, no? Okay. It is just such a question, actually not for me, but for the Department of Tourism in Batu over there, yeah? Okay. You asked me what I think about the facility in Batu, the service. Do you think it is enough or needs some upgrading? Upgrading, of course, needing every time. Yeah, but if you ask me for the time being, it is good enough. All the facilities and services in Batu, because now Batu declared as tourist destination in Indonesia. Yeah, it has so many amazing destinations too. So I think in average it's okay. But of course, if you ask me need some upgrading, of course, yeah. By the time, yeah, it should be good there. And then what kind of upgrading? Of course, what's it? Human resources. Yes, like they already have DPC, HPI. They already have professional tourist guide, and it should be maintained continuously by the government to be professional. Yeah, and also like what's it? Infrastructure or the other, because Batu is a quite small city. The problem is about the facilities of the transportation. I mean, the route of Batu. If before the pandemic era, we see that Batu is always, yeah, having all the traffic jam every time. So, of course, in the future, it needs a special way how to go to Batu without two traffic for the transportation. Batu, I think it is only possible for one-way traffic transportation, because the narrow street and the huge capacity of transportation which come to Batu, especially if it is talking about the group of tourists. Yeah, it is a big bus in a weekend. Oh God, you never imagine. Okay. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much for Pak Siswantoro for answer the question. And then thank you so much too for Gigi to asking the question. And the next question comes from Zaki Muhammad. You can turn on your microphone and then maybe you can, you already turn on your camera so you can talk to Pak Siswantoro. The time is yours, Zaki.
Okay.
Hello, Mr. Siswantoro.
Hello.
How was your day?
Nice to see you.
Thank you. Okay, so my question is related to your experience as a senior and professional tour guide who has been experiencing guiding for years. Have you faced the different characteristic of your client, and how can you deal with that?
Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome. Of course, Zaki Muhammad, thank you for the question. It is a very professional question, yeah, because it is talking about the client. It is talking about a tourist, right? So that's why I just reveal the new tourist status, I think, in this seminar, that we not only have foreign tourists and domestic tourists, but we also domestic foreign tourists and indigenous foreign tourists. That is, of course, you never know the characteristic of the tourist if you never be as a tourist guide, right? So you're learning by doing. Yeah. The longer you practice your tourist guide, the longer you handle package tourist, package tour, and find many kind of tourists, even domestic or foreign tourists, then you will know exactly what is the joyful time for them, for a tourist. Even just for domestic tourists. Even just for a domestic tourist is not only coming from Java. If it's just coming to Java Island, that is different between Middle Java, East Java, and West Java. It is not only the characters, but also the culinary, yeah, the behavior and others. So it is very complicated, of course. It is not enough only in a moment, something like in a seminar, you get the real answer. Actually, the real answer is you learn by doing. No worry. Yeah. If you really would like to become a professional tourist guide, never think that many things you should think it over, like how if I find the characters of the tourists, yeah, like tourists from Netherlands, they don't have any berg or any mountain, so they like to see a Bromo. They like the tradition and others. And then if we handle a Chinese, they have a different culinary. At least they have, in general, 12 variants of cuisine in one time of lunch or dinner. So many things should be learned by the tourists, and you should learn it by doing. Yeah, but if you are going to a study that is discussing about tourism and language, then over there you little bit will, in general, learning about the stock culture, or sorry, about the what's it, culture understanding. Yeah, over there you will at least know, and then you practice it, and then you know what is the different and the similarity. That is my answer. Yeah, I try to answer all the questions as well as possible. So many questions answered. That is will be nice rather than only one or two questions. Okay, yeah.
All right, thank you so much for Pak Siswantoro to answer the question, and thank you, Zaki, for asking the question. And I think this is the last question because our time is limited to the question and answer. But if you don't mind, Pak Siswantoro, maybe you can give to us our contact, and then maybe the others can asking more question and more information about tourist guide. And I will read the last question from Ma'am Novita Sari. And for your information, Ma'am Novita Sari is the one lecture that giving information. I'm sorry, teach us about tourist guiding. And the question is, technology has created a revolution and embedded itself in the tourism industry nowadays. People could join some virtual tours or reality tours in some destination. So what should a tourist guide do to survive during this trend? I'm afraid the job of tourist guide might not exist someday. The time is yours for Pak Siswantoro to answer the question.
Okay. Applause first for Bu or Mbak Novita Sari, yeah, because it is really the big question, or the most important thing to end all the question. Okay, well, Mbak Novita, it has really happened when I have a national seminar and then talking proudly the presenter or the keynote speaker from Bali that's saying we already do it in a digital era, like by ticket, and then coming to the destination, we just doing thread, and then that is already finished. And then I hardly objection about this. Yeah, and all the people just, huh? And they just make a sign. Why? Because if we are talking about tourism, it is talking about the curiosity of a human being. Yeah, that the world is in general divided into two areas globally. That is Western and Eastern, right? The Eastern would like to have all the empiric experience about the old style living. And the Eastern people would like to have all the experience of a modern living style, right? And of course, it is impossible that when a Western people come to Eastern people, and it is just overhanded by all the technology. Yes, it is happened, but I should remind the government, don't do this over what's it overaction. Yeah, something like now. Maybe if I'm your tourist guide, do you think have something? If you come to Indonesia, come with me, or I lead your trip, and then do you think you have some kind of longing for me if you come again to Indonesia? Yeah, that is the tourism should be presented. So I never worrying about that the profession of tourist guide will be ended by the era of digitalization. No, not at all. Because when you first come and then you have all the hospitality, finish with the digitalization. We need it, but in only some cases, just to make it all running well and smoothly, just something to do with the administration. So government, please, this is national webinar. Listen to me. Yeah, never make everything in tourism industry digitally proudly. No, I am the first man who would like to object it hardly with all the power, because that is not tourism. So no worry, Bu Novita, please, with me, with all our students, that is hundreds of students, hand in hand, and live this idea. We never make all the digitalization unless for administration, right? Yeah, because you never overhandle village people in the village just cooking with a special kitchen, with a special was it a fire and a special atmosphere? No. Like if you go to was it Bromo, it will be something like that. If you go virtually, how satisfaction you are as a tourist? No, of course not. And don't worry, because we have 300 million people who would like to make a trip. So be optimist for all my audience here. Yeah, that the tourist guide profession still have all the chance. Yeah, and I can live it within this 31 years.
Yes,
Okay.
right, sir. Yeah, because when we visit the destination physically, yeah, we have the different feel. Yeah, it's not like when we have virtual tour, right? Yeah, and I will support you, ma'am. I'm sorry, Pak Sis. Yeah, thank you for the answer.
I have a friend to against the digitalization for tourism. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Mbak Pares.
Thank you for Pak Siswantoro, and thank you for Ma'am Novita Sari for the question. And I'm sorry I have to, because the time is run out, but I will make sure if Pak Siswantoro in the end of the session will give his contact, and then you can asking the question and asking more information about the tourism and the others. So I would like to.
Sorry, my last word.
Okay.
Yeah, my last word for all of you there. Yeah, especially to 252 viewer or audience. So I just give you 2 words: be professional and proportional. That is my word, to be professional. Yeah, be professional and be proportional. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pak Siswantoro.
Okay.
And thank you so much too for the participants who actively to asking the question. So ladies and gentlemen, we finally come to the end of the session. But before I close the session, I would like to take the conclusion from what the Pak Siswantoro has present. So I will mention you about how to become professional tourist guide. The first one is study about tourism and try to find how to master any foreign language beside English. The second one is have the three matra. The first one is knowledge of tourism, skill of tourism, and foreign languages. And the third one is try to contact the person who know tourism very well. The fourth is try to come to the tourism department or HPI, Himpunan Pariwisata Indonesia. I'm sorry, Himpunan Pramuwisata Indonesia. And the last one is have an internship such as in HPI. So I'd like to say thank you to the speaker, Pak Siswantoro, for the informative and interesting presentation and all the participants for the very active participation. Finally, give applause and reaction for our speaker, Pak Siswantoro, and for you all. All right, I will give my time back to the Master of Ceremony, to Diah Ayu. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Claresta Pramelda, who was willing to lead the second talk show session. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't feel like the main event is over. And hopefully, after listening to the material that has been delivered by the speakers, we can broaden our knowledge about tourism. Then moving right along, now we are in the most awaited session, that is the announcement of the winners. So we have decided 6 selected winners who are actively asking questions that come from 3 categories that are the interesting questions, the second session, and the active participants. So each of them will have 2 winners. So without any further ado, let me announce the winners. So the winners for the interesting questions go to Ananda Fitria from UINMA. Congratulations. And the other one, still from the category of interesting question, go to Nabila Senja from Polynema. So congratulations for both winners. We still have the winners from the second session, and it goes to Zaki Muhammad from SMAN 2 Lamongan. Congratulations. And another winner still from this category goes to Gigi Dewa from Polydema. So congratulations from the winners from this second session. Ladies and gentlemen, the next is the 2 winners from the most active participants. And I am pleased to announce that Hemalia KP from UMM and Fanny Fajar Aprilia from Polynema are the winners of the category of the most active participants. So let's give an appreciation to the winners by hitting the clap reaction button. Once again, congratulations to those 6 winners. So those 3 winners will get MAP vouchers from CIMB Niaga Bank in the amount of 1,000 rupiah for each. And it can be used all over Indonesia in selected counters. While the remaining winners will get a deposit bank account with 100,000 credit also from CIMB Niaga Bank. So thank you very much, CIMB Niaga Bank. And do not worry, for all participants of today's webinar, will get a discount voucher from Red Doors that will be sent through your email. Okay, once again, thank you for actively participating in question and answer session. And for the winners, our committee will contact you as soon as possible to confirm the door prizes. Oh yes, I would like to remind everybody here. So drop the the chat box. So kindly check your chat box and mark your attendance. Before closing the event, so the operator will take screenshots of us. So the operator, the time is yours.
All right, check. Can you hear me? Yes. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, attention please. Turn on to all participants and committees. Please turn on your cameras and get ready to pose because we'll have a screenshot session. So I will wait for a short time to see how many of you turn on your camera and okay, let's see how much. All right, so there are currently 3 slides of participants who tuning on their cameras. So, okay, for your information, I only display participants who tune on their cameras and not displaying the one who not turning on their cameras, okay? So, from the first slide, get ready. 3, 2, 1, and screenshot. Okay. Windows ALT dan screen. The second slide. Get ready. 3, 2, 1. Screenshot. Okay. Looking good. All right. Slide number 3. Get ready. 3, 2, 1. Smile. All right. I think that is all. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Now I give control back to the MC. Dia Ayu, time is yours.
All right, thank you very much, Rafa. So that was all as the several agendas of BESTY webinar 2021. On behalf of the Committee of Fund B in English Department of Fonema, we would like to say we created this for
Media partners, sponsorships, the speakers, as well as Aurelia VanderWilde and Mr. Siswantoro, and then the moderators, and of course, the lecturers of English Polynema, and all the participants of today's event. Drink the coffee and the tea will bring you to the champion. Thank you, my bestie. See you on the next occasion. Biji selasih, biji duku, tumbuh subur di pohon kenari. Terima kasih rekan-rekanku, sampai jumpa di lain hari. I hope you have a very pleasant day and have a nice weekend, everyone. Bye.
Thank you for everyone.